this stew, and her name is Minerva. Ouch! She's the flower of the flower. Ouch!
Welcome to the show.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Oh. Just cleaning my glasses, you know, vision's important, especially at someone my age. Welcome, everybody. It is once again time for comics, cryptids, and cannonballs. I am your host, Aaron Lopresti, 30-plus year veteran. I don't even want to count higher than 30 anymore. I'm just going to say for the rest of my life, however long that may be, 30-plus year comic book industry veteran. I'm a writer. I'm an artist. And I'm here to spread, hopefully, knowledge and good cheer. Why am I off center? What's going on here? I guess that's fine. What a show. What a tremendously large show. I got a big list of stuff here that I got to cover. And we're going to get to that in just minutes. I figured out the process of putting this back on X or Twitter. As it did it automatically, now it doesn't do it anymore automatically, so you have to go in and manually do it. So I've done that. So those of you on Twitter can see this wonderful show, this wonderfully entertaining show on Twitter. If you don't want to come all the way over here to YouTube, you can do either. And so I'm quite proud of myself. So anyway, let's, I don't have any, like, you know, some sort of anecdote or a funny or informative story to tell today. I have been just, see that, there it is, that easel right there. My dad actually made that easel for me, but that has a painting on it that I just finished like 30 minutes ago. And that is for the cover of Barbaric Adventures Magazine #1, or one of the 4 covers that you'll be able to choose from. Of course, I'll be insulted if you don't at least choose mine. But anyway, I'm not revealing it yet. There's a lot of mystery surrounding this project, and a lot of it's going to be revealed on the campaign page. So my expectation is that you guys have to go to the campaign page to check all this stuff out. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. Right now, let's talk to you in the chat. Let's see who's here. Stealth X5 is here. Past Master Dan joining us. Darren Wagner, he says, after you've signed up for Barbaric Adventures, consider backing Demifoot on Fund My Comic and get your free Dan Lawless Heidi Blackhawk trading card. Darn, is she hot? It's actually, that is a really nice piece that Dan did for Darren's campaign. You want to go check that out on Fund My Comic. That is Demifoot. Excuse me. Whew. Boy, you know, it's not what I ate. It's just drinking water does that to me. Yeah. So, but I'm going to continue to drink water throughout the show to stay hydrated because it's important. So there may be more burping coming up. Let's hope not, but you never can tell. Corum is here. Says Adam Hughes. Yeah, love his covers, but want interiors more. Yeah, well, once you get into the realm of superior cover artists where everybody wants you to do covers, it's kind of like single illustration is so much easier than doing interiors that I think the last thing I saw Adam do interior was like a Hellboy comic like 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, maybe he's done something since then, but once you get into cover mode, man, it's hard to go back and do stories. Stories are time consuming and difficult. Not that coming up with a concept and executing a nice cover image is not difficult, but in terms of time involved, it's very, very different. And a lot of people don't like doing interiors, especially if you can get the cover work, then you don't have to do interiors. So anyway, Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is always here. Creative Faye joining us. She says, hi, Aaron, do you plan on doing SummerCon this year? Probably. How's that for non-committal? Probably. If they hook me up. SummerCon is so hard to communicate with that getting this stuff set up is always a challenge, but I will probably be reaching out to them about that because I do like to do SummerCon. They have good food in the green room, and if that's not a reason enough, then I don't know what is. Pantheon is here. Matthew Muma, Robert the Bruce. He goes, I want a good, clean show with lots of 90s comics references and stories. You're going to get that probably more. Well, I guess I was going to say some 80s stories, but I wasn't active in the 80s. I started working in the 90s or very, very late 80s. So I guess any of my stories would be from the 90s. Jay Roscoe is here. Marcus Killer Group, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, is joining us. Corey Landis is joining us. Best Age Comics is here. Michelle Bowers with her sword. She's ready for action. Let's see here. There's Gary Bruce, very similar to Leg Kick in a lot of ways. 10-8 Comics is joining us. Says, that's Aaron, always a little off. I'm more than just a little. Gemini Dragon says, Aaron's not a little off, just a little old. And there it is, folks. First cannonball of the day. I'm a little sensitive. Since I turned 60, all I can think about is death. So anyway, let's see. Corey Landis says, you using what your father made for you is endearing. Well, thank you. He made that. He also made my drafting table, which is freaking huge. And I will never part with either, actually. I've seen some like cooler easels, than this, but I'm not exactly a prolific painter at this point. So I'm going to stick with my dad's easel, and I'm definitely sticking with the drafting table that he made for me when I was 16. I'm still using that drafting table. It is heavy duty. He didn't make it out of oak, but he made it out of pine, but then put oak veneer over it. And it makes me wonder, how is that easier than just buying oak? I mean, oak is way more expensive than pine, but if you're getting oak veneers and putting them over the pine, you got to cut all that stuff. It seemed to me like maybe just get oak, but who am I to tell my dad, the master craftsman that he was, what to do? So anyway, I've got that. Let's see here. Headless Bourgeoisie is here. Eric Boyd joining us. Jay Procha. I know. Why am I not now pronouncing that right? Jay Procha. Procha. Anyway, thanks for joining us. David Williams is here. David, of course, as probably just heard me say it, but the painting is finished. My cover is done. Dan's is done. The pressure's on David now to finish up his cover painting so that we can move forward with the campaign. Just a little pressure there. Soul Cure Alt Einone is here. Atlas Commander joining us. Who else we got here? William Wellborn is here. I'm just going to zip through here. Gemini Dragon says, thanks for the cannonball, Aaron. I turned 50 this year. Death is always looking at me funny. I'll tell you, man, it's turning 50. I was a little, but when I turned 60, it was just like my whole mindset changed. I'm like, I got 10 years left. Now I got 8 years left because I'm 62. I mean, not of life. That's very possible. But, you know, and I've said this before. I remember having this lengthy discussion with Mark Schultz. And he was telling me, and this was several years ago, this was when I was in my 50s, and he was just hit 60 or something. He's a few years older than me. And he was like, I've got to get the final chapter of Xenozoic Tales finished before I turn 70. Because when you hit 70, that's when your skills start to erode. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I know McGinnis painted till he was well into his 90s and did great work. So I don't know if that's true all the time. But the work that we do, I will say this, the work that you do in comics with either pen and ink or brush and ink, in Mark's case, it'd be brush, is very intricate and very detailed. You can paint and be a little bit more bold with your brush strokes and things like that. So you can still do that after the 70 mark, but all that little noodly detail stuff gets harder and harder to do as you get older. And so maybe you can continue to paint, but doing like really high quality comic book work that we're used to seeing, it's a little more challenging. So we want to get all that crammed in before we turn 70, then we can turn into fine art painters or whatever. Robert the Bruce is a good point. You could live to be 110, so you best get to work. I'm working myself to the bone. Jay Roscoe says, curious about the process to turn a painting into a file that can be printed. The canvas is too big to scan. So how do you photograph it with enough fidelity to print correctly? Excellent. What you end up doing is have about 3 or 4 lights. First of all, you have to have a setup. And usually it'd be against a wall, so you know that it's flat, so that your painting isn't tilting even just a little bit this way or a little bit that way. You want it flat. So you could put an easel attachment to your wall or something that's flush against the wall, and then you lock the canvas in there, right? But you don't want overhang. Like this has an overhang on it, as you can see right at the top, right there, to kind of push it in. And so that might cast a shadow. So you can't have that. But you have to like attach it to your wall somehow. You could probably even do it with tape, I suppose, as long as you had it square. Then you're going to light it from all sides. So high, low, and both sides to try to eliminate any shadows at all. And then you make sure your camera is exactly flush or parallel, with your picture. So again, it's not leaning one way or the other. Then you take a shot. The other thing you can do, I have an 11 by 17 scanner. Actually, it's about 13 by 18, 13 by 19, something like that. I did this on the Kit Carter thing, and it actually worked pretty well. I scanned half of it, the top and bottom, and then pieced it together in Photoshop. And it actually worked pretty well, because with the painting, you don't have any, really tight lines that if they don't match up exactly right, anyone's going to notice, right? So you're just dealing with colors and shapes. So those you can have a little bit of leeway if it doesn't match up correctly. And if you can't do it either of those options, then you have to take it to a photo lab that has experience shooting this stuff, and you take it down there and have it photographed and then scanned. So there you go, a photographed or scanned on like a big flatbed scanner. They used to peel. It makes my skin crawl to think about it. But they would take the artwork, because you had to scan it on a drum, right? So it had to be wrapped around a drum. The artwork did, and then it would spin, and they would scan it that way. But they peel the artwork. If it was like on an illustration board, you have to actually peel the artwork layer of paper off that, so you could wrap it around the drum to scan it, which, as horrific as that sounds, it's true. So anyway, there are your options. Dave Mark is here. Dave says, you never know how long you have. My father just turned 101 a few days ago. Well, my mom was deathly sick at Christmas time, and she has recovered, and she is going to be 95 this year. So you just don't know. You just do not know. All right. We started talking about Barbaric Adventures. Let me give you an update on where we're at on all this. So as I said, the cover's done. There it is, right there, but you can't see it. I have to have a special print for the campaign. So that has to get finished this coming week. So I'll be working on that. What else do I got here? Print, the cover's finished. What I am going to do this week is I've shown you guys the blue line for page 2 of my story. Well, I'm light tabling it onto a board right now, and penciling it on the board. And I'm going to ink that through various live streams next week. At least one, maybe a couple. So you want to keep your eyes open for that. It'll be just a last second live stream like I used to do back in the old days all the time, which I hardly do anymore. So you get a chance to see me inking page 2 from the story, and that'll be kind of fun. The only thing we risk here is I've been saying that the launch date's going to be March 4th. That's going to be a Wednesday during Graybeard Studio. I've kind of been hedging on that a little bit because when I made that announcement, I forgot that if I get the campaign put together this week, it'll be by the end of the month. And then normally we just hit the button, the go button, and the campaign launches. Not anymore. Indiegogo has to approve everything. And that could take up to 5 days. So if I don't get the campaign into them and flipped around quick enough, that's going to move the launch to the following week, which is the 11th. Of course, I will keep you guys updated on all of that, but we'll see how quickly I'm able to get the campaign put together this coming week, along with the other stuff I have to do, and then how quickly they will get it approved. So it could be the 11th we're looking at instead of the 4th, but just so you know, that's where we're at. Evil One, Chris, for $5, he says, your face isn't helping me get down my dinner any easier, but there isn't anything else to watch. This better be a good show tonight. That's about multiple insults in one. But at least you paid me $5 to insult me, so I appreciate that. God, my nose is itching. I think I'm going to sneeze. Let's see here. 810 Comics says, I'm going to draw and watch on the big screen. That's what I think you should be doing. This is big screen programming. There's Spaceman's joining us. Okay. Okay. Evil One says, I try to get as many insults in for $5 as I can. That's efficiency. I've ever seen it. I do want to also take a moment here to show you guys the early sign up for Barbaric Adventures. I can't really, it's hard for me to promote this big time as a get in there and sign up early, because once again, Indiegogo's changed their formatting and changed everything and made everything harder and more difficult and not as efficient and not as good, quite frankly, at least in a lot of areas. Now, I do like the preview page because you can put 3 images up there and it kind of rotates the images, as you can see right there. But it doesn't save the emails anymore for early signup. So I can't promise you anything for signing up early. But what I'll do is I'll add an extra treat for everybody that orders, even when you sign up early. But at least signing up early puts you on the list that you'll get notifications and things like that, and be right on top of the campaign when it launches. So you should go there and do the early sign up anyway. And I will give you something special for doing it, even though I can't determine who did it and who didn't. So basically everybody's going to get something special, but you know, what are you going to do? The link is in the description of this video. It's also pinned to the top of the chat for this evil one. He's really gunning for me today. So anyway, there you go. Go check it out. This is going to be a 64-page, black and white. It's all going to be gray toned, you know, or ink washed, however guys are going to do it. So it's like, it's not just black and white. It's going to be really, really nice. Like this image here is gray toned, as you can see. It's going to be like that. And you've got 3 really good artists working on this. Me, of course, David Williams and Dan Lawless. And I know a lot of people have been, David's had some rough luck with every campaign he's worked on for other people, for some reason hasn't been finished or hasn't gotten published or whatever. And so those of you anxious to see David actually do a story and have it be printed and published, this is it. Same with Dan. Dan hasn't done any interiors. You've seen the covers, you've seen the cards, but now you're going to get to see a story as well as covers by both of these guys. And so this is going to be a really, really cool project, and you do not want to miss out on it. And of course, the reason it's black and white is because I'm a Savage Tales fan. And I never got to work on Savage Tales when I was in the industry, in the mainstream industry, I should say. I'm still in the industry. As you can see, there's a Savage Sword of Conan right behind me, right there in the rack. You see it? Right there. It has a great John Buscema, inked by Rudy Nebre's Conan story in it. I just love that stuff. I always wanted to do one, never got to do one, so I'm doing it myself. And you guys will not regret. And Gemini Dragon says, so I can color it myself. Well, what I would recommend doing is getting multiple copies so that you can save the black and white and you can color one yourself too. Or maybe color 2. That's right. It's Earl Norham back there. Great cover artist. No, you're right. It's Earl Norham. Oh, Dan did do a story for Graham Nolan's 250. Did he? It's been a while since I read that. Can't remember. I'll take your word for it, Marcus Killer, because you're always right, and I never am. So I'm not going to, certainly not going to argue. Henry Angelus, where do we submit fan art? Just post it on X and at me in it so I can see it. That would be the best thing at this point. I don't know if I'm going to do an art contest or not. I might do it on this again. I haven't done one in a while. That might be kind of fun. I'll let you guys get your barbarian out. So I'll get that all figured out this coming week. This is getting the campaign together week and getting all the details done and all that kind of stuff. So I have to kind of sit down and look at everything I want to put in the campaign. And so maybe I should do that. That was kind of fun. I did that with Wraith of God once. I had some really great entries. All righty. Okay, so we did that. Oh, and let me also take a moment to do a little advertising here. Since I don't have any sponsors, guess what? I sponsor myself. And yeah, so check out Wraith of God, Fear Hollow in my store. If you missed Wraith of God, Fear Hollow, if you missed Wraith of God 3, because you're like, I don't trust these guys. I want the book published. I don't want to wait. Whatever. That's fine. It's there. And you can order it. All you do is go down here to the Shop Now button. See that right there on my homepage? Hit the Shop Now. And it takes you to the official Aaron Lopresti web store, where up here, you've got the store, you've got art for sale. So if you go to the store, you can see all products. You can see prints, books, merchandise. Let's go to books. So there's the second printing with the new cover, of course, of Wraith of God 1. There's Wraith of God 2 with the award-winning wraparound cover by me. And we also have a few Bisley covers left and a few of the Tales of Suspense covers left. The cool thing I thought, and I did have some people criticize me for doing this, but this book, Wraith of God 2, is 103 pages. I mean, that's story pages. 103 pages worth of material, reading material in it. Now, the Wraith of God story is, I think, 54 pages. And then there's a Kit Carter, first appearance of Kit Carter's in this book. There's a good nightclub story in there, and there's a really fine Garbage Man story in there as well. But people were like, oh, I wanted more Wraith, and you kind of bait and switched me. And I'm like, how can I give you a comic book that has 103 pages in it and someone say I bait and switched you? Otherwise, you would have just got, a 60-page Wraith of God story, maybe. And so I don't really understand that. But that's the cool thing about this book is it has multiple stories in it, as well as a 54-page Wraith story in it. So it's not like I just did 10 pages of Wraith and put some other stuff in there. So anyway, all those are available. Power Cubed, Garbage Man trade paperbacks are available. Kit Carter hardcover, I still have a few of those. I still have some paperbacks of Kit Carter. The Graybeard Studio sketchbook, I still have those. A few of the Saved from the Trash are left. Some Kit Carter sketchbooks. This is a really nice sketchbook, by the way. Wraith of God, Fear Hollow 1, cover A, cover D, that's cover C, and we also have cover B somewhere on here. There it is. I got a couple, not many, a couple of these Kit Carter ash cans left, and then a couple of price guides that I did the cover for. So all that good stuff is in the store. Along with prints, there's Freya of the Ice Kingdom. She, of course, is a Yeti Slayer. Possible appearance in Barbaric Adventures #1. We'll have to wait and see on that. I got a nice Wraith print here. Look Up in the Sky, the pigs as superheroes. It's really nice Mars print. Garbage Man, some Kit Carter stuff. There's the Kit Carter movie poster. I still have a few of those. Rosie the Riveteer, another Kit Carter. So lots of really cool prints. They all come signed. Some of them are actually signed and numbered. And also, if you're interested, I have original art on here. I have pages and pages. Wraith of God, Kit Carter, Damage, Justice League. More coming, of course. Tons of sketches. A lot of these are from Graybeards, but not all of them. There's 3 pages of sketch material, although I just sold Megan and MODOK, and I just sold this Wolverine. So these 2 are gone, but a lot of this other stuff is still there. And I do have some illustrations too, like this Cave Girl painting, which was my warm-up painting, if you will, to get ready for that cover right behind me. So lots of, and I got the original painting from the Kit Carter movie poster right there. So that's kind of fun. Red Sonja painting, Fire and Ice, all sorts of fun stuff. So anyway, check out my webpage for all those goodies. It's always open, and you'll find a link in the description of this video. All right. Let's get on with the regular portion of our show now, if we can. It says right here that what I have to do next, or what I told myself to do, was this. Yeah, it's time for that expensive comic of the week. And I kind of went back and forth because there's a lot of expensive comics we could look at. But let's look at this one because I enjoy the history behind this one. Man, I'm telling you, all the buttons I got to push. Check it out right there. Yeah, folks, this is completely politically correct and appropriate. It's doggone this thing. It is Detective Comics #1 from 1937. This book is freaking rare. And when you say it's rare, I mean, it's really rare. The highest graded copy known to exist, I believe, is an 8.5. This was a 6.5 that sold this year, or pardon me, in 2025 for $228,000. The 8.5, the single highest graded copy, there's no sales data on. So whoever has it is sitting on it, but I would imagine that it's got to be at least double what this is. So I would say probably $500,000. This is a significant issue in that it really sort of marked the beginning of new material, not reprint material, because originally comics were collected newspaper strips and then you just repackaged them and put them on the newsstands. Well, this had new material in it. And it was just a year after this that Superman debuted in Action Comics #1, and only 2 years after this that Batman premiered in Detective 27. But look at this. Siegel and Wheeler Nicholson stories. Joe Shuster and Craig Fleisel did the art. So Siegel and Shuster, the guys, yes, that created Superman, actually did original work in Detective Comics #1. How about that? Now, if we zip over, everybody keeps improving allegedly their formatting, and it's just worse. StreamYard has made this so much more difficult to do than it used to be. Anyway, so here you go. So this is Go Collect. This is an app that I have that basically gives you current market value on certain books, how many have sold, how many are available. You see this chart right over here. You've got 40 comics, graded comics is all of this book. And the highest is an 8.5. Now it says there's 3 of them, but there's only one in a universal grade. The other ones are restored. So this would be an unrestored, and that is the highest graded copy. If you look over here, this shows you recent sales. And of course, the 6.5 in 2005 was the most recent sale at 230,000. But like I said, there's that 8.5 looming in the background. And you can see a 3.5 sold for 78,000, a 3.0 for 74, a 0.05. How crummy would a 0.05 have to be to get an 0.05? Like part of the cover missing and all that kind of stuff. Still for 15 grand. So this is a significant book. There's hardly, finding a copy of this ain't easy. Finding a high grade copy of this, and by high grade, I mean anything over a 6, is practically impossible since there's only 5 known to exist. So there you go. That's a little history on Detective Comics #1, and that is our expensive comic of the week. I didn't say I was confused. I just said I was annoyed. Did I say I was confused? Maybe I'm confused. But StreamYard, the program we use to stream with, is more convoluted than it needs to be. It was actually quite simple until they redesigned it, kind of like Indiegogo. John Platt says, I have all 3 Wraith of God comics, and I backkick Carter Planet Doom. I'm a big fan of your art style and storytelling. Aaron, looking forward to your next comic campaign from Empire Comics. Thank you, John. Appreciate that very much. Where is this coming from? I don't blame Shelley for anything. If she's on the show, I'll blame her. I don't know where this is coming from. Getting a bad rap. Okay. Marcus Killer, of course, confusion. That's every show. I can't really deny that, but there's always a fair amount of confusion where I'm involved. And I think you guys should have a little bit of pity now that I'm not quite a senior citizen. I think I have 3 more years before I can go on Social Security. So in 3 years, I'll have done so much stuff in 3 years. It's ridiculous. So I'll be ready for Social Security, I think, in 3 years. All right. Enough of this tomfoolery. Let's check the old list. You know, this has become possibly my favorite segment of this show now. I don't have an intro for it because it's not a permanent, but I should have put together like the American Film Institute Top 100 Countdown. I should do like a placard for that. And I guess I will, because we're right now, we're doing, we're counting from 50 down to 41. So those 10 movies. So we're into the really, really good stuff now. Stealth X5 for $2 says hello. Thank you, Stealth. Appreciate it. Henry, of course, making me feel good by saying in 3 years there'll be no Social Security. You're probably right. So I'll have to keep working anyway. What you plan to do? Retirement? I don't even know what that would even look like. Sam Goyer, we're going to jump into the Academy Awards after this. So anyway, here we go. Let's start at number 50. Certainly a classic film that isn't that old, but certainly deserves to be here. And there it is. It's Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Now, if you recall, Return of the King is actually the one that won Best Picture. This did not. But you kind of feel like they gave Return of the King the Oscar because this is one big film. Let's face it. Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and then Return of the King. It's all one film. It's all one story. So maybe they just rewarded the entire effort for all three films with one Academy Award at the end. And I assume that's what they did. But yeah, of course, it was nominated for Best Picture, as all the Lord of the Rings pictures were. But the third one was the one that won it. But even though this is still my favorite, because it has the setup, and you know, it's like the first one's always the best. Although the third one was pretty mind-numbing as well. The big climactic battle. The battle at Helm's Deep, though, that was in Two Towers, wasn't it? That was freaking awesome too. This is good stuff. Good stuff. So this wasn't on the original list at all, the one in 97, because this film was made in what? 97? I should pull up my list. I will do that. Let's see. Lord of the Rings was 2001. So it didn't even exist in 1997. So this is new to the 2007 AFI list, which is what we're using for the purposes of this show. And I totally believe that it should be on here. It's just epic filmmaking. Even though it's, you know, mostly green screen, it's still freaking epic filmmaking. And what a massive undertaking. And he did it right. I mean, they did this right. So Peter Jackson, I mean, the director, producer, and I don't know if this could have been better. And so there you go. At number 50, Lord of the Rings. That's true. The effects were, because they did film in New Zealand, and a lot of that landscape stuff, all that stuff was real. And I guess a lot of the I want to call it, say, the morks, but who are they called? The orcs, the morks. Mork and Mindy. Yeah, the orcs, a lot of those guys were guys in makeup and stuff. So, all right. So let's move on to number 49. I always question the order of these films, but this is actually a pretty cool movie poster. This, of course, is D.W. Griffith's Intolerance, a colossal spectacle from 1919, silent film. Of course, perhaps the most controversial film of all time, Birth of a Nation, because of the portrayal of the slavery and everything during the Civil War times. Not in this movie, but in Birth of a Nation. But anyway, this is an interesting inclusion on the list because this was silent movie made in 1919, and this is one I have not seen, so I'm aware of it, but I haven't seen it, so I can't comment too deeply on it. I'm sorry, I got distracted by someone in the chat making fun of me for saying morks instead of orcs. But I find it interesting that this movie was obviously around in 1997 when they made when AFI did its first, list of top 100 films of all time, and it wasn't included anywhere on the list. And so this year, or 2007, excuse me, when they redid the list, this jumps in at number 49, not like 100, but 49. And I got to assume that the historical significance of the film and the epic nature of this being a silent film and yet so grandiose that it was a very important film. And it is. I mean, anybody who's a film student or a student of film has heard of Intolerance. And so it obviously is significant in that regard, but just very strange that it doesn't make the top 100 the very first time they did the list. Very, very interesting. Okay, here's one that has dropped 6 spots from the original list. And it infuriates me to no end because this is one of my top 5 favorite films of all time. And I think this should be way higher than it is, even at 48. It was 42. Now it's 48. It is Rear Window. In my humble opinion, and people discuss this stuff, but there's Vertigo, there's North by Northwest, Strangers on a Train. This, in my opinion, is Hitchcock's best film. And I just think it's absolutely brilliant. And I would have thought this would have been in the top 25 films of all time. But here it is at 48, having dropped 6 spots from 42. Gemini, look, it's okay. He's already disagreeing with me. He says, great movie, not Hitchcock's best. I disagree, as I just said. But like I said, I understand that there's several films that people go with for Hitchcock's best. The Birds is great. Rope is great. But this, the way he's able, we never leave Jimmy Stewart's apartment, the entire movie, but the way he's able to create suspense, James Stewart's character, and a telltale scene in this movie about Jimmy Stewart's character is when he sends Grace Kelly over to who he believes is the guy who murdered his wife. She gets caught by him and he doesn't know what to do, right? He's panicking. And what he should have done is just called the police, but he's so scared of being found out that he just sits there and freaks out and pulls back into the shadows so that he can't be seen. As the guy looks across, I can't think of the guy's name that played the killer. Somebody help me out. He played Ironside on TV. He was in Godzilla, the very first one. Got it. Guys, help me out. Raymond Burr, there it is. Down, I just saw it in really small letters down there on the Raymond Burr, like looks out his window because he sees that Grace Kelly is pointing at her ring finger and but he like could have saved her by, he could have like opened up his window and yelled out, but he was like so scared of getting caught that he was going to let Grace Kelly get killed. And it speaks like, I love that fact that he was just this incredibly flawed character. It was so interesting. The Hitchcock take James Stewart and put him in more than one role where he was just not a great guy. And this is one of them. So anyway, yeah, remember, thank you, Evil One. So anyway, I just love this movie. I just think it's incredible. Again, to create that kind of suspense without ever leaving his apartment building, or his room. Anyway, so next on the list, certainly a classic, directed by Elia Kazan, the movie that made Marlon Brando a star, Streetcar Named Desire. And Vivian Leigh, actually, the interesting thing about Vivian Leigh was she was so beautiful. You might remember her from Gone with the Wind, which is probably way up high on this list. Excuse me. But this, she played a middle-aged woman in this, and she was still great looking. But anyway, this started a string of Academy Award nominations for Marlon Brando. Of course, I believe the movie after this that he did was On the Waterfront. I can't remember exactly the order. But he did this, Streetcar Named Desire, where he got nominated for Best Actor. He did Julius Caesar, which he got nominated for Best Actor. He did Viva Zapata, which he got nominated for Best Actor. And then he did On the Waterfront, which he got nominated, and of course, won for. But I can't remember the exact order of those movies. I know this was the first one, though. So Corey Landis says, what was middle-aged back then? 27? Well, if you figure Vivian Leigh was in Gone with the Wind in 1939. She was in her 20s in that, I'm assuming. So this movie was 1954, I think. 51, excuse me. So she was 12 years older than she was in Gone with the Wind. So she was probably early 40s. I guess late 30s. So I guess she was in her but she had to be older than that. So she probably was in her 40s, which isn't that old, but I'm just saying that she's still stunningly, I think, beautiful in this movie. And, but anyway, this is a good movie. And certainly worth watching. I don't like it better than Rear Window, but that doesn't mean it's not better than Rear Window. I just don't like it better than Rear Window. All right. This is a classic. And if you guys have not seen this, I highly recommend going to see this. Some consider this the greatest romantic comedy of all time. And from 1931, Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert in It Happened One Night, which is the most ridiculous, ambiguous title. It absolutely tells you nothing about the story. I always thought that was kind of funny. But anyway, Frank Capra directed it. And it won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, all back in I'm sure it was 1934, excuse me, 1934. So it was a clean sweep back in the day. And this is a great film. It's charming, it's romantic, it's funny. There's, I don't know if you really want to call it action, but there's a little bit of car chasing and all that kind of stuff in it. So basically, Clark Gable's a reporter who gets hooked up with Claudette Colbert, who's this rich socialite supposed to be getting married, and he wants the story, so he follows her around. Of course, they end up falling in love and all that kind of crap. But a fantastic movie. And this is actually a really nice movie poster. Probably worth a fortune if this is I assume this is an old movie poster, not a redo, considering the style it's done in. But anyway, it happened one night, folks. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. And this was, this has dropped 11 spots. It was number 35 and dropped down to 46. Streetcar Named Desire dropped 2 spots as well. So a lot of newer stuff in the top 40 that pushing out some of these classics, which I'm not too happy about, to be honest with you. Okay, for this one, okay, here's a perfect example. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad movie. It's a good movie. Okay, don't get me wrong. But this, we like to call this one Shane. Directed by George Stevens, who, of course, also directed Giant with Rock Hudson and, that other guy that died young. So this is now at number 45. It was at 69. It's moved up 24 spots. Is it really that good? I mean, it's a good movie. And also, Clint Eastwood's Pale Rider is kind of a remake of Shane with some added supernatural elements, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's a classic. I'm not saying it shouldn't be on the list, but should it be this high? They moved it up 26 spots. James Dean, thank you, Marcus Kilgrew. Yeah, so George Stevens directed Giant with James Dean and Rock Hudson. And was Elizabeth Taylor in that too? I think she was. But anyway, a good, or I should say a great Western and a great story. My problem is Alan Ladd's so freaking short. They had him like standing on boxes and stuff in this. Like you look at like where his belt line is compared to like, when he's standing across from say Jack Palance or whatever. And you're like, that something's not right here. Because he was standing on a box. But anyway, again, it's a, if you're putting together your canon of must-see films, it's certainly just about everything on this list is a must-see film, I would imagine. But there you go. Alan Ladd in Shane. Screenplay by A.B. Guthrie Jr. Okay. I actually like Pale Rider better, but, I like Clint. So what can I tell you? Okay, this one, again, it should be on the list, but not here. I have a real, I have an issue with this. Maybe if I open the window, it might be helpful for you guys to actually see what I'm talking about. Where is it? Okay. Ooh, this is a nice movie poster too. Who is it that suggests that I should do like the top 100 movie posters? Philadelphia Story. Jimmy Stewart won Best Actor for this, and he shouldn't have. And I love Jimmy Stewart, don't get me wrong. But again, it's the Academy Awards, and we'll get into it when we go through the Academy Awards. But they've always been notorious for giving people awards for that maybe deserved them, but never for the movies that they should have got them for. It just drives me nuts, because there's always some sort of agenda going on. But anyway, the interesting thing about Philadelphia Story is that Katharine Hepburn, if my memory serves, I know I'm going to say something I'm probably going to be wrong, but unless I get fact checked, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I believe she bought the rights to this, and she was looking for a project because her previous films did not do great. She wasn't the star that she wanted to be, and they weren't sure that she was ever going to be the star. And then she put this thing together and became a star. And it's a really good movie. It's really fun, romantic comedy, drama, if you will. Mostly comedy. Jimmy Stewart's terrific in it. Cary Grant is, Hepburn, they're all great in it. I'm not saying it's not a great film, but I don't know that I would put it up. Where were we at? 44? top 100 films of all time. I don't know. I mean, it's pretty famous, but after watching it, I've watched it a couple times. I'm kind of like, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, but I don't know if I would put it this high. Look at Evil One, Chris. Come on, man. There was some great illustrators back then. There was no photographs. It was all painted work. So if you're an artist or a fan of art, you got to love, all the way up to probably, well, the 90s is when they really started doing heavy photo manipulation, but we were getting great Struzen covers. And other illustrators doing, fantastic painted covers or painted movie posters. All right. So that was Philadelphia Story, and that's moved up 7 spots from 51 to 44. So this group right here that we're dealing with today, there's a lot of up movers in this these 10 movies we're looking at today. Now, this is interesting. This is down 7 spots. This is not a pleasant movie to watch, but it is, again, a classic. Midnight Cowboy. And I remember seeing this in film school because I'd heard a lot about it. And this is the first X-rated movie to get I think the only X-rated movie to ever win an Academy Award. By today's standards, it's just R-rated. I don't know why it got the X, but this was 69. That explains it. So it got an X rating. And the story is that John Voight is this Texan, and he comes to New York City to become a gigolo, right? So he's thinking he's going to be, hiring himself out to all these young, rich or older rich women or whatever, and just make a fortune. It doesn't actually go that way. He ends up having to turn gay tricks and things like that just to, survive. And Dustin Hoffman's this kind of like street urchin guy that's dying, and it's not a fun film. And I don't recall there being anything overly graphic in it, but I do remember there was a lot of unpleasant gay sex scenes, but they weren't, as I remember, they weren't too graphic. So I'm assuming it thematically is what got this the X more, and the language, of course, but got the X rating. Anyway, but it is, it is a classic, and I wouldn't recommend it unless you're just like a film buff and you're like, I got to see it because, it's a classic. John Schlesinger directed. I don't know that he won. Did he win Best Director? He may have for this. Like I said, it did win Best Picture. So anyway, yeah, not the kind of movie that I would make, but, to each his own. All right, now this is another, it's getting dumb for me to say, oh, look, this is a classic. Of course it is. The top 100 films of all time. This, of course, from the 60s as well. Again, I don't know that I would put this high on the list, but it is, of course, Bonnie and Clyde with Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway, and a really good movie. And very interesting. You have a young Gene Hackman, or a younger Gene Hackman. Was Gene Hackman ever young? This is 1967. So it's before Gene Hackman became a star. Gene Hackman didn't really become a star till The French Connection, which was 1971, I think. So he was 4 years away from, but he was in movies like this in a supporting role. And he did the movie The Conversation with Coppola after this. But he's in it. And also, a young Gene Wilder is in this movie, if you didn't know that. In a straight role. Straight meaning non-comedy. This is Arthur Penn directed this. Again, very violent. It's so interesting to look at the movies from the latter half of the 60s. Like we took a look at the Wild Bunch earlier on this list. This is another one. Just really bloody, violent film. It's like, oh, the code is gone. We can do whatever. And then, of course, Midnight Cowboy in 1969. They would never have made that movie pre-code. So interesting from that standpoint. And it's funny how they sort of glamorized Bonnie and Clyde. You know, you get like two really good looking young actors in Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway to play these two outlaws, and they're practically runway models. But it is a good movie, and they come off as very sympathetic, as you would imagine, but their end is a little rough for them, I'm afraid. So anyway, they're down. This has dropped 15 spots. So it was 27 and now is at 42. So as I said, I don't think it should be this high, but it's moving its way down. So maybe it'll end up eventually getting where I think it should be, which doesn't really matter what I think. But anyway, there you go. 1967's Bonnie and Clyde. And then finally for today, number 41, we're going to go all the way back to 1933. It's King Kong. This is a great poster too, by the way. And you know who has a copy of this poster? The actual poster, the original poster. My buddies at Metropolis Comics in New York is hanging on their wall. They have this movie poster. So I'm sure it's worth some bucks if you actually have the movie poster. I think this is significant just in terms of what Harryhausen did. Harryhausen didn't do the effects. He was a assistant to the guy who did the effects, which was, who did the effects? I can't remember the dude's name. Was it Edgar Wallace? Was that the effects guy that did the, Graham would know. If Graham was here, he would know. But I think Harryhausen helped out on it. It was a young lad, Ray Harryhausen, helping out on this. But yeah, I mean, it was groundbreaking for the stop motion effects, and it's still a really good film. It's hard for us in this generation. We're so used to like practically seamless digital effects. Well, not always, but when they're good, they're seamless. And then to go back and watch something kind of the very beginning stages of stop motion. Willis O'Brien, there it is. Thank you, Spaceman. Oh, I love having the smartest chat around. Oh, Angela Curry's here. Angela Chocolates Curry. Angela, bring me chocolate. Okay, so, but I think the story's really good. The concept, the whole thing is really, it's really a great sort of moral tale. I thought Peter Jackson's version, okay, number one, it was too long, but it turned into this ridiculous romance between the girl and the ape. And when they were ice skating in Central Park, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to puke. But the stuff on the island, I absolutely loved, you know, the dinosaurs and the giant bugs and all that stuff. And that giant bug scene that's in the Peter Jackson movie was in this original silent version, but they cut it. Probably, I guess, for running time. I have no idea. But I think you can YouTube it and look for the deleted scene, or at least part of it. I don't know if they have the entire thing or they shot some of it and didn't shoot all of it. I can't remember exactly the details, but anything that has giant bugs in it is freaking creepy. And that scene in Peter Jackson's, I loved the whole thing on the island. Loved it. It's just when they got back to New York, and, you know, I can't think of the actress's name, but she was big for about 15 minutes. And that whole like It's a giant gorilla, man. It's like you're not going to be risking your life to save a giant gorilla. You're going to be running for your life. Coram says the first hour was horrible. That's probably before, it probably took him that long to get to the island, didn't it? It was the whole thing with getting the ship and getting everything together. But you know what? I'm a sucker for period pieces. I kind of get wrapped up in the surroundings of a period piece. So even if the movie's not great, I'm like looking at all the costumes and everything. And so it seems like it's better than it actually was. No, not Faye Dunaway. Doggone it. What was her name? I think she's British, but she was in The Ring. Wasn't that her? Wasn't she in that? Or the American remake of The Ring? Doggone it. What's her? Naomi Watts. There she is. Yeah. Nothing But Milk gets it. Naomi Watts. In the Peter Jackson version. Of course, this was Faye Dunaway in this one. So anyway, there you go. There is our 10 for this week. And so next week we'll be doing 40 through 31. So we were getting down there. And it's sad to me to know that we've already done Jaws, which should be top 25 in my opinion. So anyway, again, let's recap. Number 50, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Number 49, Intolerance, the silent movie classic from D.W. Griffith. 48 is Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window. 47, Elia Kazan and Marlon Brando, is Streetcar Named Desire. Number 46, greatest romantic comedy of all time, perhaps. It Happened One Night with Claudette Colbert and Clark Gable. Shane, Alan Ladd at number 45. I find that odd. 43, Midnight Cowboy with Dustin Hoffman and a young John Voight. Bonnie and Clyde at number 42. And then King Kong at 41. There you have it, folks. That is your AFI top 100 films for this week. And we'll do more of that next week. I'm excited. We're getting into the really, really good ones. Not just the good ones, but the really, really good ones. Except for Jaws, which we've already done. Okay. Let's see here. I used to have I can't find anything anymore. It's a sad state of affairs, folks. Oh, there it is.
Moving right along.
Except we're not really moving right along because it took me forever to get there. But now we're going to take a look at some artwork, in particular my artwork. This really isn't, this, I should be doing this actually for this segment.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
If you want to get a more sophisticated version of a Reese's peanut butter cup, these Dove chocolate with peanut butter filling are sort of the thing. I'm not going to eat it right now because I'll just really be slovenly, but I was going to, but now I'm not going to. So anyway, we're going to go back and do that. What we're going to do today is we're going to dig into my flat files and take a look at the history, if you will, leading up to Barbaric Adventures. Look at this. Every time I shift this window open, it just like starts spazzing inside. It's driving me crazy. I hate StreamYard now. For as much as we're paying for StreamYard a month, fix this. Okay. Or is it Google? I don't know who to blame. Maybe it's Google. Okay. So anyway, being a fan of the barbaric and the caveman-y and the dinosaur is not new to me. Let's go back to 2000, can we? That would be 25 years ago. I did a thing called I did a portfolio because I'm still caught in the 70s. And so I did this thing called something worlds, weird, fantastic worlds. And it had like, it had a King Kong piece in it, and it had this caveman piece. See, I was kind of trying to do a little Frazetta, you know, see, I have this girl down here in her leopard bikini, French cut leopard bikini, because that's the style in prehistoric times. And this sort of caveman looking for her. Now, this I did on watercolor paper, and you artists out there might appreciate this. Look at how flat that black is. So this is just India ink. This was brush and ink, but look at how flat those blacks are. This watercolor paper, I love working on watercolor paper, especially if you want just a little bit of texture, you know, this kind of looser dry brush stuff. And you can see right there, the dry brush, that's where the broken line, like the moss hanging off the tree. You don't even have to, the watercolor paper does it for you practically because of the texture. So this is a cold press watercolor paper. And, but look at how it absorbs that black. So you just get this perfect, it looks like it's printed. You get this perfectly flat black on there. But anyway, so, and it looks really cool because the edges of the paper are like torn. So it looks kind of like, you know, it's kind of expensive. JP Roca says, of course, no, that's what I did. I said J Prochka. That's why it was JP Roca. Okay, I knew I was being stupid. So yeah, so I still have a couple of those originals left from that portfolio. The portfolio didn't sell worth crap, but it was cool anyway. So then let's go to when was this? This was actually, this predates that. I got them out of order. This would have been in the 90s. This is a pinup of Turok that I did. This is brush and ink as well. There's Turok. That is Shelley posing for me. The only time she ever posed for me in our long 33-year marriage, 34-year relationship. That's the only time she ever posed for me. And she was wearing more than this girl's wearing. So, but anyway, so I did this as a pinup because I really wanted to do some work on Turok. Unfortunately, the editor that was interested in me working at Valiant was not the Turok editor. He was the Solar. So I did a couple issues of Solar, Man of the Atom, and I did it. But I was able to finagle this Turok pinup. And I penciled and inked this myself, of course. This was probably 96, maybe 97. You know, the funny thing is, Michael Bancroft, all the way from Australia, who's probably wrestling a giant spider right now, says that I kept the pictures. Polaroids is what we had to take back then, right? Because I didn't have time to take a picture, go get it developed. We take a Polaroid, and that would be your used for your reference or whatever. So anyway, there you go. Got to do a lot of dinosaurs and fun stuff. Now, shortly after 2000, I ended up at a place called CrossGen. And when writers ask me, what do you want to draw, Aaron? I always tell them the same thing. Give me some dinosaurs and some jungle action. And they always do. And here we go. There's Mystic in her jungle outfit, wrestling with cavemen. I mean, and of course, inks here by the great Matt Ryan. But this is, of course, anything you see here on the show just about is for sale. I don't have any Mystic pages listed on my website, but I need to get around to that. My Mystic pages, my Sludge pages, a lot of other stuff that I should get up on there. Anyway, this is good fun. So I got to draw this story where Mystic was in the jungle and fighting cavemen. And thank you to Tony Bedard, who was the writer, for actually doing what I asked. The Turok pinup is not for sale, by the way, but all this other stuff is. This isn't either. But you guys remember a little book I made? Let me try that again. You may remember a little book I worked on called Wonder Woman. Now, Gail Simone was a writer, and she comes to me and she says, Aaron, what do you want to draw? And I said, Gail, we could do some barbarians or something with jungle and dinosaurs. And sure enough, we did Barbarian Story, where she incorporated the 70s characters, barbarian characters from DC Comics, which was the Claw the Unconquered, not the Claw the Unconquered, who was a Conan character, Beowulf, who's right here, and then the Stalker, which was a Ditko Wally Wood thing. And so this is like sort of Viking-ish kind of times with Beowulf, I guess. So here we're like in a Viking lodge, and here's Wonder Woman in her Viking outfit. And I'm really mad. I designed 3 different outfits for her sort of a winter Viking thing that had like a big cloak with a hood on it that was kind of cool, and a medieval one, and then what was the other one? Medieval, and then a straight up barbarian one, right? Sort of Red Sonja-esque. And they never did action figures with those, and they would have sold really well, I think. So anyway, you can see here Matt Ryan again on the inks, but we getting all jiggy and with the border, with Beowulf's sword here, and then another sword over here. Wonder Woman's star down here, right? There it is, with the vines and stuff. And then, of course, a skull of a demon up there, which is kind of what Beowulf has on his head. So anyway, this was a splash page from one of the earlier issues. I'm quite fond of. So, all right. I went to a trip to Germany, and I said, well, I can't come to do this show for you unless you bring my wife. And they're like, well, we can't afford to bring her. I said, is there anything I can do for you or for the show to help offset the cost? And they said, yes, you can design a poster for the show, which they exploited the heck out of and sold. And there was banners everywhere. It was really cool. And they sold prints of it, which I signed. And of course, that's how they raised the money to pay for Shelley to come with. Anyway, Dortmund, Germany is where this show was at. So I did this. This turned into they turned it into one of those big stand-ups you'd see at a movie theater. So it was really cool. We got pictures. Shelley took pictures of me standing by it. But anyway, this was a concept that it's not Primal Zone, which I'm doing in Barbaric Adventures. This is very loose in terms of the concept, but it's basically these guys, these astronauts, this guy and this woman, and there might be other crew, but they get killed. They're the survivors that crash on this planet that's kind of like cross between John Carter and Journey to the Center of the Earth. So you got like dinosaurs and creatures, but you also have like these guys flying around on pteranodons and things, which is also a pretty good concept, but there it sits. I haven't done anything with it yet, but it's not all that dissimilar to what I'm doing in Barbaric Adventures. So you probably having both of them would be kind of silly because they're very similar. But anyway, that was the poster I did. And then most recently, perhaps you would remember my work on the Herculoids, baby, for DC Comics. I got a lot of pages from this story. This is one of the ones I kept for 2 reasons. One, because of I love this face. Is it Dorno? What's this dude's name? No, Dorno's the kid. Somebody help me out. What is it? What's his name? The leader of the Herculoids. But anyway, and then I love this back shot of him. So so this is just one of the pages. I kept a few pages from it. This is one of them. Just because I like this figure on this dude. And that face, he's very grim. So there you go. That's a small collection. Almost went into Kirk there. That's a small collection of barbaric dinosaur type art that I have done over the years. And I'm just thrilled to death that I'm finally getting to do it in a magazine that you guys will be able to get. And Angela was here. A lot of my women ended up having Shelley's face. Because Shelley has a really good jawline for like if you want a heroic female character. In fact, when I drew Wonder Woman, her jawline was just an exact copy of Shelley facial structure, because it was like what's her face that played Xena. She had a really good, jawline and stuff for kind of a heroic female character. So anyway, there you go. So that's a nice little collection of artwork to get everybody primed for Barbaric Adventures Magazine coming soon. Lucy Lawless, thank you very much. I remember when I first got the Xena job at Topps, and I was lucky because it was right after Tachyon, and I was kind of like blacklisted from DC for a time because of the failure of Tachyon. Not blacklisted, hey, we don't like this guy, just don't give this guy any work, he can't sell books. But when you give me crap like that to draw, what do you expect? But anyway, Renee was my first editor at Marvel, and she had left Marvel and was now working at Topps with Jim Salicrup, who was also the guy who discovered Todd McFarlane, or at least put Todd McFarlane on, didn't discover him, but put him on Spider-Man. And so he was running Topps. And so I contacted her because I needed work. And I said, yeah, I'll do the Xena stuff. I hadn't watched the show. I didn't know anything about it. And so I had to go and start watching the show so I could get caught up, because I was writing the scripts as well as doing the stories. And I don't know what the moral of the story is, except that I did, so I had to study her jawline and her facial structure. And she had a very strong jaw, which is perfect for this. And she was, Lucy Lawless is beautiful, but very strong jaw. Just like Shelley has a very strong jaw and beautiful. So, Shelley became my Wonder Woman, and Lucy Lawless was, of course, Xena. All righty. Well, now let's take a look at someone that I think may be the most talented person to ever work in comics. And I know that's a bold statement, but in terms of just natural ability, you've got guys like Frazetta, Neil Adams, and this guy. Just pure drawing ability. He's a guy that, and most people, obviously, Adam Hughes for his pinup work and his, beautiful babes and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of where he's made his bread and butter, and that's what he does. But if you look at like him doing monsters, or you look at like the Hellboy comic he did, or it doesn't matter what he draws, it's incredible. So, if he hadn't been a babe artist, if he'd done whatever, I still would have bought it and still thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. So anyway, let's take a look. Now, I'm not even going to suggest that these are his top covers. In fact, I can't even think of a cover that he's drawn that I didn't like. So for me to pick like 10 or 12 covers and say, oh, these are my favorites, it's a lie, because they're all my favorites. But these are ones that kind of stuck in my memory, I guess, a little bit more. And for a variety of reasons, not just because every one of them has a babe on it, but that's what Adam does. But like, if you look at the machinery, I mean, yeah, of course, the babes, but look at this. Look at this motorbike flying thing. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, yeah, no one's looking at it because you're looking at the babes, but now, granted, he probably had, looked at some manga stuff for influence, but still, it's so good. And it just frustrates me because I'm like, I don't conceptualize tech well at all. And I'm the type of guy, that's the one thing I would use manga for is tech. But yes, again, the babes are fantastic, but this jet flyer they're riding on is just like nuts. And this is very reminiscent of a Dave Stevens cover that was on Planet Comics, I think, in like 1988 or something. But his figure work is outstanding. His faces are what always carry his illustrations. Now, some of you may remember, if you go way back to the 90s, back when I was working on Sludge for Malibu in the Ultraverse, Adam Hughes was right across the way working at Dark Horse on the world's greatest comic universe, or what was it called? Something like that. And this was, he kind of went through a Mucha stage, an Alfonso Mucha. And this is a great example of that. This was the cover to a trade paperback collection, I believe, of ghost stories. Just awesome. You know what? It's just awesome. What are you going to say? And this appears to be hand watercolored and not photoshopped. I may be wrong, but I believe he did watercolor this. Yeah, Adam is one of those guys that, nicest guy in the world. And I haven't talked to him in a while, even though our booths are right next to each other in San Diego. I don't know if... I don't think he's like has a problem with me or anything. We never did in the past. But I just think he's like less sociable these days. But I would run into him at San Diego, looking at Star Trek toys and stuff at a booth. It was crazy. But he's a good dude. And Allison, of course, his wife, is a fine young lady. So nothing to say but good things about those guys. This is going way back to before he became the painted cover guy, back to his Justice League. And it's so funny because, I mean, this artwork is really good, but it's not even close to what what we're used to seeing. And yet at that time we saw this and we were all just like going, this is so awesome. Like, look at Fire's expression and expression on Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. And I just remember this cover. And I mean, that's the reason I started reading this book. Was not a lot of people started with Kevin Maguire. I didn't start till Adam Hughes started drawing it. And I like Kevin. I like Kevin's stuff. Kevin's a good dude personally and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't until Adam started working on Justice League that I started picking it up. And look at, there's not a lot of detail. I mean, there's a little bit in her hair, but if you look at Booster Gold, there's nothing, there's no line work hardly at all other than his body hair. There's nothing going on here on Booster. It's just that they're so well drawn. You don't need to cover up fantastic drawing with a bunch of line work. And, Adam is the king of fantastic drawing. And this is when his coloring he started doing his own coloring and getting more sophisticated, but still not to the level that we're used to seeing, but getting there. This is one of those many Wonder Woman covers. I really like this one. I like the face of Wonder Woman in the background, the pose of her in the foreground. Now, the only thing I'd say about Adam's stuff, and this isn't a criticism, it's just he doesn't draw very hippie women. He gives everybody big boobs, but he doesn't give them big hips. And I tend to give my women bigger hips. But his expressions and what he basically, I think, is the best colorist to ever work in comics. Not only is the best artist possibly to ever work in comics, he's the best colorist. And a lot of this stuff he would do or does in gray marker, scans it, and then like colorizes the grays to create this effect. So it's pretty awesome stuff. And this also is really kind of an interesting, and it's very much a monochromatic color scheme. It's like the red is not very bright, you know, and it's all sort of this sort of, I don't know, what do you want to call that color? It's not really mauve. It's got a little bit of mauve down here, but it's really a value painting and an exercise in, you know, how you can do everything the same color just as long as you control your values so that everything doesn't just bleed together. Taupe, says Michelle Fedor. Michelle Fedor. Michael, sorry, Michael. The Michael Fedor show says taupe. I'll go along with that. This is another Wonder Woman I really like. And this was interesting to me that he did this kind of red line here and didn't color in any of this. I tried to do something like this when I did a Wonder Woman cover and I colored it, and they like sent it back to me. They said, finish coloring it. And I'm like, you know, because I was just ripping off Adam. But, you know, Adam can do this. I can't, I guess, is the moral of the story. But this right back here, this Wonder Woman figure back here, this was all done in gray marker. And then he scanned it in and then colorized it. And it's such a great effect. And of course, all of us started using Copic markers because Adam was using Copic markers. And we all tried to, you know, kind of do what he was doing, and none of us could. Yeah, I just can't. I know I'm gushing, but I cannot say enough. I just really love his work. Now we get into some more modern versions of his stuff. He does a really good job, again, of doing large central figures that kind of draw your attention. Another thing there's not much to this until you start looking at the acting and how well, like this judge with his hand over his, you know, rolling his eyes, and this guy kind of looking in, and her trying to make a point, but then accidentally crushing the judge's bench, and the expression on She-Hulk's face. The great thing about this is it's a really kind of obnoxious expression, and yet he's able to pull it off and still make her super attractive, even though she's making a really weird face. And that's just, again, a tribute to how talented this guy is. And I know that as he went along, he was using models and stuff to reference the facial expressions. It still doesn't matter because he's still got to draw it, you know? And I just love her face. And this, again, was all like, you can tell like her skin tones and all this stuff. This is all markers in here. And then he scans it in and then, you know, colorizes it. So good. Now, I was told this was the cover to a collection, although I can't verify it, but this is just such a great piece. And again, this is all markers, okay? So what you have here is you have a yellow piece of probably Bristol or something, or cream colored, And he's going in here. This is warm grays that he uses for this background. It's all done in warm grays. And again, it's a value study. The splatter is probably done with, I would say, one of the warm gray markers. But he probably, I don't know exactly how he did it. He might have blown through a straw or something, or I'm not exactly sure how he did it, but he splattered marker juice on this. Now, Ghost is her outfit is in cool grays, so you get that kind of blue. So the warm grays give you that kind of sepia look, and then the cool grays give you that more blue. And again, this is a Muka inspired design. Great piece. Great piece. I really like this. This is from his Catwoman series of covers. And the design on this is just brilliant. Okay. So it's Catwoman number 50. And look at what he's done here. You got Catwoman right here, but this huge poster of Zatanna on the wall. Because I believe there was I don't know if she guest starred in it or if she was a backup story in this issue or what. Look at the spotlight effect he puts on her. He uses the logo. He works the logo into the neon sign here of Catwoman 50, February 6th. He's got the comics code right there. That's pretty funny. Batman in a reflection off this mirror here. And look at how detailed and nice the background is. You probably can't see it really well here, but that background building is cross-hatched. So it's black, then it's down to crosshatch, and then he washes it out with this light back here. Just brilliant coloring, brilliant. And the water effect down here. That's what I mean. I mean, his drawing is fantastic, but his color work is just, if it's possible, is better than his drawing. It's just amazing. So anyway, I really thought this was a really inspired cover. I mean, he does a lot of great ones of just big figures and stuff, but this one was more complicated and super interesting. So that's why I've got it on this list. This one is just, I love this expression of Wonder Woman. It's not a comic book cover, but it is a magazine cover, so it still counts. Do they still do Comic Book Artist Magazine? I love these crazy infinity covers. And then how he bent the image. I mean, who would go to that much trouble? Well, I'm sure he went in Photoshop and bent the image so that it went along with the bend on the cover. And again, this is all markered and then gone in and colorized. Fabulous. Oh, Shelly walks in with homemade bread.
Still warm.
With butter on it. Boy.
All right, now I'm going back to bed.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Cannot not eat homemade bread that's right out of the
His
oven.
mom's recipe. Just, passing it down.
Excellent.
Caleb's favorite, too.
Angela Curry says, woohoo!
Oh, Ange.
John Platt for a $1.99 super sticker. Thank you, John. That's 199 pounds sterling. So good.
So good.
Evil One says Shelly is awesome.
Thanks, Evil One.
Okay, back to Adam Hughes. Thank you, Shelly. I love this cover because it's so retro, and yet the drawing is so not retro. It's so sophisticated and modern, and yet done in a way that It kind of reminds me of that Ms. Marvel cover. That actually, the Ms. Marvel #1 cover. You guys remember that Romita did from the 70s? And I actually did a version of that from Marvel Zombies cover. But I just love this. It has that great, like I said, combo of retro, old style, and, you know, modern approach that Adam uses. I think we all know what MJ's. I think we all know what MJ's looking at. She's jealous. Angela Curry says, my teacher used to say, if you don't have enough to share, then keep it to yourself. Well, bummer. I'm sharing with you in thought. Here's another Zatanna cover. I don't remember what the issue was because this is just the artwork. It's not actually the cover of the comic, but I always like this piece a lot. And again, I love the face. The hands are great. The legs are fantastic. Look at this sort of embroidered looking bustier thing she has on around her waist here. How nice that looks. The creases in the cape. I'm just so jealous of his ability. It just makes me ill. But fantastic work. Evil One for 2, thank you. Says, wait, I thought you were Adam Hughes. I have been mistaken. I guess I'll take that as a compliment. I've been mistaken for Adam Hughes more than once. And that's to take another bite of homemade bread that I'm not sharing with you, literally. I don't know if I should get into those stories or not, but 2 times I was mistaken for Adam Hughes. So I guess I should take that as a compliment. But when someone comes up to you and starts telling you how great they think you are, and you start going, yeah, I got a fan that really thinks I'm great. And then they tell you that they think you're Adam Hughes, then you realize they don't like your stuff at all. They like Adam's stuff. So what are you going to do? Paladin Joe for $4.99 says, I really like his Rogue Savage Land cover #1. Yeah, I'll bet you do. No, it's like I said, how do you pick your favorite? They're all just so good. This one, I find particularly stunning because of the design, I guess. I think this is just beautiful, and how he essentially drops the white out of her hair into the background. There's a little, just a whisper of pink up here that kind of helps shape her head. Again, as well as this is drawn, the coloring of it is so monumentally good. I love this face right here. And again, he goes in and markers this stuff up and then scans it and colors out. So I think if you search, and you don't have to search too hard either, that you can find a lot of these covers, just the grayscale version of them, which is remarkable in and of themselves. But yeah, I always like that one. Now here's one of the all-time faves. And this is early, but I just remember this coming out and going, and that's another Wonder Woman cover here. That eagle or that hawk, whatever that is so good. And what he did with the clouds back here, look at that lion. You know, to do an animal that expressive, I mean, that's like Frazetta level sort of quality. Oh, and she's got an owl on her head. How about that? And again, the coloring here is fantastic. It's just really, really nice work. Well designed. I mean, it's just, you know, I always say, I've often said, I wonder what like Michael Jordan feels like to know that you're the best. To know that what does that feel like? And I know Adam's a very humble guy, so I'm sure he doesn't sit around thinking that he's the best, but on some level he must know that he is. What does that feel like? And you're like, you know, I could enter an art contest and destroy anybody on the planet. It's got to be a good feeling. But anyway, there you go. That's our look at some Adam Hughes covers, some of my favorites. Certainly not all of them, but some of them. And that's the best you can do with somebody like that. Rabbit Megan's like, it probably feels awesome. I bet it does. Avenger 2, Don Lopez calls ego deflation the Hughes effect. Exactly. That's like, you know, it's like this painting, right? That you haven't seen yet. I'm like looking at it and I'm going, this looks really good. I did a really good job in this. I'm really happy with it. And then you go, you know, and then you hold up to a Frazetta or something. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a child. I'm a child. I have no idea what I'm doing. But, you know, we do what we can. And I promise you'll like the cover. But because I was surprised that it turned out as well as it did, because I'm not a prolific painter, so I don't have a ton of experience painting. But I love it so much because it's such a challenge. And so I really learned a lot since I did the Kit Carter painting last year, and then the little paintings I've done in between to kind of get more familiar with acrylics and things like that. I want to get into oils and stay there, but acrylics are a faster medium, obviously, to work with, and you can kind of simulate oil a little bit with acrylics. So, well, yeah, it's kind of like when I did Gil Kane. I did Gil Kane in 2 parts because there were so many great Gil Kane covers. That's true. They did crowdfund that that FF book he did because actually I don't know if they crowdfunded it. I think the FF book the hardcover one that came out like 2 years ago or whatever it came out. Someone else published it. Marvel didn't publish it. They had to like give the rights to somebody else to publish it because it would cost them too much money to pay Alex Ross and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it is it's a sign of the times, I'm afraid. But we're going to hang on to these comics as long as we can because they are cool, and we appreciate you guys sticking with us and supporting our independent comic efforts, not just through Comicscape, but other people out there are doing it as well. And you're getting better comics, quite frankly, than you would from what Marvel and DC is offering for the most part. So I should show you one thing. Speaking of Adam Hughes, I've shown this before, but it's been a while. So why not refresh everybody's memory? I have this sketchbook. I'm not going to show you every piece in it. Save that for another time. But I got Adam back when you could get a sketch from Adam. If you could get on his list. If you could get on his list, it was $100, and we were at San Jose Con. Was it Big Wow at that time? I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, so I was going to get someone to open my book, and then I realized, you know, I don't want to put any pressure. Let me rephrase that. I wanted to put pressure on everybody, so I said, you know what? If I do my own opening piece in my own book and do a really nice job, it'll put pressure on everybody else to do their best job. So here's how I opened the book. Of course, Man-Thing and Howard the Duck. And you can see written over here it says Aaron and Shelley's sketchbook in the vines back there. So I really went to town. So when I gave this to people, I wanted them to see this as the very first image and say, okay, this guy, you know, put a lot of work into it. And this is 2006 when I started this. So the first person I got was Adam, $100. And that's what he did for me. In fact, I told him, I said, can you do me a Mr. Because I like his humor stuff a lot. And I said, can you do me a Mr. Mitchell-Pitlick, like Dreaming of Supergirl? I said, but it can just be Supergirl's face. You don't have to, you know, do a full figure. But he went full bore on it. She's like, say my name, say it. So this is one of my prized possessions in the sketchbook. So Adam Hughes there. Needless to say, he doesn't do sketches for $100 anymore. But everybody kept buying these sketches from him for $100, and they'd go on eBay and sell them for $400 or $500 at the time. And so he was like, I'm not doing that anymore. But I got in when I could still afford it. Okay, well, that's the meat of the show. But now let's get to the potatoes. We have, and when I say we, I mean, well, I guess all of us are going to share in the experience. We have quite speak much. We have a very eclectic collection of videos today to look at. And let's start with this, which apparently, well, I'll bring it up and then I'll explain the video. Well, we're looking at it. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm telling you. This is like the Jersey Devil or some flying thing, allegedly. The problem with it is the woman that took the video says, oh, yeah, I videoed it, and then the creature flew away, but does not have a video of the creature flying away. So here's the creature allegedly right here between these two trees. And the way she proves that that's something is that's what it looked like before. So I don't think this is, well, I shouldn't say I don't think it's fake because that would be foolish. But so I guess like there's right here, there's an arm reaching out or whatever. And then we cut to it. And that, I guess, is your first sign that it's fake because we don't have a fluid film experience of this creature climbing up onto the tree, and we don't have it flying off. It is a Peacock original, though. How did I get a commercial break right in the middle of this video? So then she claims that the thing, it stayed there for a few minutes, then flew away. Yet she does not have the video of it flying away. And you can't really see anything, but there's definitely something there, unless it was something was added later photographically or saying it's a scratch on the lens, you think? Because it's not there, and then now it's there. Not there, there. But yeah, the fact that we don't have the creature landing or then flying off is a little disappointing. So I wanted to start off with the worst first, and there you go. Now this is called, I call it, Bigfoot in My Backyard. Now the story with this, allegedly, is this guy was YouTubing like I'm doing, he was live streaming in his backyard and saw this. He had no idea that it was there. And so let's take a look. I'll tell you my thoughts here as we. So man spots Bigfoot on his property in Batesville, Mississippi. Okay, so I'm not really sure what it's doing. Playing with a branch or something. Now, see, it's in his backyard. Now, okay, hang on a second now. Hang on. Isn't this a fence back here? So how did this Bigfoot get into this guy's fenced backyard. Okay, now let's look at it. Is that not just a dude in baggy clothes and a hoodie? I mean, seriously. And he's like, call 911. Bigfoot's in our backyard. Look at that. That is a dude in like, he's got a hoodie on, baggy pants, and a baggy shirt. It doesn't even remotely look. Look at that. What is that? What is that? See, this is insulting to me. It's like, dude, if you're going to do this, at least make it. It's like he's not even trying. Oh, this guy might even have tennis shoes on. Look at this. Let's go back. Can we see his shoes? Maybe. I can't tell if that's his shoes or if that's the ground. But look at the baggy arms. Like, it's so bad. Says that's his weed dealer. Says, yeah, now we're on to something. Oh my gosh. Someday, you guys, I know I keep promising it, but someday I'm going to do my own Bigfoot video and it will be stunning. But that ain't it. All right. Now, this is weird. This is a abandoned, I guess this is in South America, but an abandoned like apartment complex or something weird like that. Okay. So keep your eye on the right of the screen when we get over to this doorway or window right here, right in there. Okay, so you couldn't see much, but they're going to slow it down now. Right in there. You see? There he is. Do we see the dog man? So they're telling me these are his teeth, right? Hang on a second. So these are his teeth. His hands are here and here. Those are his shoulders and arms right there. Now, could it just be a reflection of the light? Could it be the whole thing could be fake, or could it be a real dog man hiding out in this stone structure? Because that's where they hang out, is like abandoned like apartment buildings and stuff in South America. There he is. Maybe it's a Bigfoot, though. They're saying dog man, but I mean, could it be a Bigfoot? Or could it just be poor fakery? Marv Wolfman says the art and times of Jay Ryan. I might be onto something there. Chimpanzee, says Moromi. It's a sock monkey, says Angela. Yes, this is true. Avenger 2 says South American. Now you know they're trying to bamboozle you. Only the British are cheekier about their faked footage. There's a lot of faked footage coming out of South America. A lot. But I don't know. See? Could be his teeth. Maybe that's a beak. It does kind of look like there's arms and shoulders there. But not really convinced that someone didn't just kind of add that. All right. Here's something that's kind of gross. It's also kind of fake. But you tell me. Maybe you don't think it is at all. But apparently somebody found this washed up on the beach someplace. It looked like it was like ripped in half or something. That's some sort of weird pig man fish creature. This looks surprisingly like rubber to me. Maybe it's I just don't understand the biology of ocean-faring creatures, but that looks like rubber to me. Plastic of some sort. Avenger 2 says that is a altered mannequin sculpture. Okay. Pastmaster Dan thought perhaps the last one was Smokey the Bear. James says it's how South America is trying to get more tourism to offset their socialism government is with Bigfoot videos. I see. Draw them in that way. I get it. Gemini Dragon says, I told Andy Smith not to go swimming at night. Eric Boyd says, that's fake, but it is creepy. It is creepy. Brian Suddenly Old chimes in and says, looks like an Amazon frogman. Is that actually a thing? And when I say is it actually a thing, of course, none of this is actually a thing, but is it something that they're trying to convince us of is the Amazon frogman? I have never heard of that. Yeah, I'm not. See, this fails right here in the midsection. What is going on there? I don't really know. Look at that. Looks like rubber. Just looks like rubber. It's kind of a gross face, you know, give him that, but is that a dog manfish? I don't know. Anyway, allegedly you might find something like that on the beach at night if you're walking around. Okay, this is kind of creepy in a way that fake stuff can be creepy, but okay, so first of all, they're saying that they're walking around their house finding this stuff, but this can't be their house because, okay, well, first of all, they go in this door, look in the hallway, right? And right there, you see that little reflection? There's something hanging down from the ceiling right here, right there, and it zips up out of sight. See, right? You can see it moving. Little white reflection light, then it zips up and out of the picture. Okay, but look at this. See, there it is. Boom. All right. So they're saying they're going around their house, but look at the stairway. Look at the condition the stairway's in. I pray these people don't live in this house. So I'm getting mixed messages when they're explaining this, saying that this was, you know, they're going through their house. But I go, looks like an abandoned house because that stairway is in pretty crap. So anyway, so his girlfriend or wife or whatever is upstairs and he says, get out your phone. So she does and goes to the window, pulls back the curtain and boom, there's a man on the wing. Let's take a look at that. There it is. You see it right there, that head right there. Now, it's interesting that she would pull back the curtain and it would just happen to be there. But anyway, so now they're going to take us through the whole experience again. So this house is beat up. So it has to be an abandoned house. That must be the story. Now, is this some sort of demonic presence? Is it an alien? Is it their neighbor? Is it all like fake CGI? I mean, I can't even tell. Like when this thing... You can't even tell what it is. There's like no shape to it that I can discern. But something is pulled up there. And then she goes to the window and boom, there's a gray alien or something. Okay, look at the demonic eyes right there in the nose. You can see the eye there, the yellow eye in the nose. But, okay, here's my question, just from a dramatic standpoint. Why is this creature peering, like he's hiding behind the curtain, waiting for her to open the curtain, okay? That's like right out of John Lithgow in George Miller's segment of The Twilight Zone. You know, there's a man on the wing. The creature, if there was a creature out there, would be over here looking, peering around the curtain to see something, right? He wouldn't be waiting there on the hopes that someone is going to open the window and he can do like a shock scare. But anyway, here we go. Let's, so there she is looking there. Then she looks here and, whoop, there's something. Oh, I'm getting out of here. I'm so scared. Yes. Paranormal activity or tomfoolery? Which is it? Oh my gosh, you guys, I didn't show you the video. I just spent 30 minutes showing you a video that, gosh darn it, I hate it when I do that. Sorry about that. Now let's look at this and we can start all over again. Okay, here come the age jokes. All right, here we go. Do I need to comment again? I guess I can eat my bread while you're watching because now you can see what I've just been talking about for the last 5 minutes. Okay, here's the stairway I was talking about. You better hope to God nobody lives there. I've created this mental image for you. It was a great dress rehearsal. Corey Landis, the longest 30 minutes of my life. All right, so you see the thing there with the yellow arrow, right? So it's, I mean, what is that? Can we even see what that is? Is that like a claw, maybe? Is that like fingernails or something? What are we looking at here? Because it's not a head. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, like light sources there. So what is that supposed to be? I don't know. Okay, so here we talk, this is what I was talking about with the drapes, right? So the thing, why would this yellow-eyed evil entity be hiding behind the curtain? Why wouldn't he be creeping around the curtain so he could see in the room instead of waiting for her to open the curtain? So here she comes, turns the light on, and pulls the curtain back, and there's the little evil dude. It's the gremlin. Well, at least the homemade bread is good. Okay. Now, is this outside? Is that what we're supposed to, is that like, I guess it is, right? This is outside. So he's like, okay, there's something on the roof. So I was like, how did it get outside to the roof quick enough? So this guy goes zipping upstairs, his wife or girlfriend or whatever, and there it is. But I guess it was outside already. So they left the door open and they're exploring this creepy house, allegedly. So I don't know. It's kind of a creepy video, but it's absolutely fake. Yeah, the one with Shatner's okay, but I actually like the John Lithgow one from the movie. That's my only, I don't like the Twilight Zone, the movie. I just think it's kind of boring. But the segment with John Lithgow, where there's a man on the wing, and the stuff with Dan Aykroyd at the very beginning and Albert Brooks are like the only two good pieces of that film. The Spielberg one where the old guy gets young was kind of like, why do I want to watch this? And then the Joe Dante one had the cartoon monsters that the special effects guy for The Thing that did The Thing did those, Rob Bottin. And the characters were okay, but I didn't think this story was and the Vietnam one actually was good, except that Vic Morrow and the two kids got their heads chopped off in real life. You know, that kind of put a damper on that episode. But so like two of the episodes in Twilight Zone, the movie, were good. The John Lithgow one and the one with Vic Morrow, but the other ones were like me. John Platt says, listening to Eating Shelley's Bread has made me hanker after tea and toast now, Aaron. I do what I can for you, John. I'm here for you, right? All right. So I apologize for pulling another boomer. I do that at least. Seems like I do that once every episode. One of the videos I forget to bring up, and there you go. I'm staying true to my my reputation, I guess. All right, gang. I have had you for 2 hours and 12 minutes, and I want to thank you for joining me on this journey, and appreciate you attending. I couldn't do the show without you, and I appreciate you being here. Thanks for the super chats. Thank you for, there's another one last second. That's really what I was doing, was stalling. See if I could get one more super chat. Evil One Chris for $5 says, you talking to yourself made the show even better, but you always do that. You're not getting another cannonball. You got one. So anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And it is Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'm going to be on Comicsgate Kings this week, I promise, on Monday. And then, of course, Great Professionals on Tuesday. And then Graybeards, our 150th episode on Wednesday. So join me for all of those. And we'll see you next week right here on Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. Good night, everybody.
Mr.